Welcome back to the English Commute, your daily dose of language mastery on the go. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that often trips up even advanced English learners, phrasal verbs. With me, as always, is our linguistic guru, guest's name.
Thanks for having me. Host's name. It's a pleasure to be back. Phrasal verbs are indeed a fascinating and sometimes frustrating aspect of English. They can really throw you off if you're not used to them.
Absolutely. I hear from so many listeners who feel like they're doing great with vocabulary and grammar, and then they run into a phrasal verb and it just throws them for a loop. They feel like they're constantly running up against a wall.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's like you're trying to pick up a new skill, and suddenly you come across something that seems to defy all logic. You might know the individual words, say look and up, but look up means something entirely different from just looking in an upward direction. It can really put you out.
And that's where the logic of particles comes in, right? We're talking about those little prepositions or adverbs like up, down, off, out that completely change the meaning of the main verb. It's like they turn the verb inside out.
Exactly. Think of these particles as directional or conceptual modifiers. They don't just add a little flavor. They often fundamentally alter the verb's core meaning. Let's take up, for instance. It often implies completion, increase, or movement to a higher state. If you eat up your dinner, you eat all of it. If you build up your strength, you increase it. If you cure up, your mood improves.
That makes so much sense when you break it down like that. It's not just random. There's a pattern to pick up on.
Precisely. And down often suggests reduction, completion, or movement to a lower state. You calm down. You write down notes. You cut down on expenses. It's about bringing something to a lower level or a state of finality.
So, if I'm trying to figure out a new phrasal verb, I should really pay attention to that particle. It's a huge clue to unlock the meaning.
Absolutely. It helps you to break down the barrier. And then there's off. This one often implies separation, disconnection, or initiation. You take off your coat. You switch off the light. A project might take off, meaning it starts to succeed rapidly. It's about moving away from something or starting something new.
I can see how that would be incredibly useful. It's like a secret code you can start to crack. And out?
Out frequently suggests emergence, completion, or removal. You find out information. You run out of time. You throw out rubbish. It's about something becoming visible, exhausted, or being discarded. It really helps to sort out the confusion.
This is already so helpful. I think our listeners are going to start looking at phrasal verbs in a whole new light. Now, to really bring this to life, you've got a story for us, right? A difficult day at work that's packed with these phrasal verbs?
I do indeed. Let's set the scene. It was a Monday morning, and I woke up feeling a bit under the weather. I tried to shake it off, but I just couldn't seem to pull myself together. I knew I had to get up and get going, but my bed was just calling out to me.
Oh, I know that feeling. Already starting with the challenge.
Exactly. I finally managed to drag myself out of bed, but then I realized I had slept in. I had to rush to get ready, and I ended up throwing on the first clothes I could find. I just wanted to get out the door. I grabbed a coffee to go, hoping it would perk me up.
So, you're already running behind. Not a great start to a difficult day.
Not at all. I got to work, and the first thing I had to deal with was a huge pile of emails that had built up over the weekend. I had to go through them all, trying to sort out the urgent ones from the rest. It felt like I was trying to dig myself out of a hole.
That's a classic office scenario. It can really wear you down.
It certainly can. Then my boss called me into his office. He wanted to bring up a problem with a project I was working on. Apparently, things weren't working out as planned. I had to sit down and listen to him lay out all the issues. I felt like I was letting him down.
Oh, the dreaded boss summons. What was the problem?
Well, he said we needed to cut back on spending, and my project was going to have to be scaled back. I had put so much effort into setting it up, and now I had to break it down and start over. It was a real blow. I had to take it in and try to come up with a new plan.
That's tough. It's hard when you've put so much into something and then you have to give it up.
It really is. I tried to talk him into giving us more time, but he wouldn't back down. He said we had to push through it. So I went back to my desk feeling pretty fed up. I tried to knuckle down and focus, but my mind kept wandering off.
It sounds like you were really up against it.
I was. Then a colleague came over and asked if I could help him out with something. I really wanted to turn him down, but I knew he was in a bind, so I ended up taking on his task as well. I felt like I was piling on more work for myself.
You're a good colleague, but it sounds like you were spreading yourself too thin.
Definitely. I tried to get through my own work, but I kept running into problems. I had to look up so much information, and I kept getting held up by technical issues. I just wanted to give up and go home.
It sounds like a day where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Did you manage to pull it off in the end?
Well, I tried to keep my chin up. I decided to break for lunch, hoping a change of scenery would clear my head. I went out to grab a sandwich, and on my way back, I ran into an old friend. We ended up catching up for a bit, and it really cheered me up. It was a nice break from trying to figure out all the problems.
A little bit of human connection can make all the difference, can't it?
It really can. When I got back to the office, I felt a bit more refreshed. I decided to buckle down and tackle the remaining issues. I managed to iron out a few of the technical glitches, and I even came up with a new approach for my project. I had to talk it over with my boss, and surprisingly, he was open to it. He told me to go ahead with the new plan.
So things started to look up.
They did. I stayed late to finish up some of the urgent tasks. I had to put in a lot of extra effort, but I didn't want to let anyone down again. I finally wrapped up everything around 7 p.m. I was completely worn out, but I felt a sense of accomplishment. I packed up my things and headed out.
What a turnaround. From feeling completely overwhelmed to pulling it all together. That's a testament to perseverance.
It really is, and it shows how many phrasal verbs we use in everyday conversation without even thinking about it. Let's break down some of the ones we just heard. We had wake up, which is pretty straightforward, to stop sleeping. But then we had shake off, to get rid of something, like a bad feeling, and pull myself together, to regain control of one's emotions.
So it's not just about the literal meaning of the words. It's about the combination.
Exactly. Sleep in, to sleep longer than intended. Throw on, to put on clothes quickly. Get out, to leave a place. Perk up, to become more cheerful or energetic. All these combinations create new meanings. We also had build up, to accumulate. Go through, to examine carefully. Sort out, to resolve a problem or organize things. Dig myself out of a hole, to escape from a difficult situation.
And these are all so common. We use them constantly.
We do. Wear down, to make someone feel tired or less determined. Bring up, to introduce a topic for discussion. Work out, to happen or develop in a particular way. Sit down, to take a seat. Lay out, to explain something clearly. Let down, to disappoint someone clearly. Let down, to disappoint someone.
It's amazing how many there are just in that one story.
And we're just getting started. Cut back on, to reduce. Scale back, to reduce the size or extent of something. Set up, to establish. Break down, to divide into smaller parts or to fail. Give up, to stop trying. Take in, to understand or absorb information. Come up with, to produce an idea or plan.
This is fantastic. It's like a mini lesson within the story.
That's the idea. Talk into, to persuade someone. Back down, to withdraw a claim or demand. Push through, to continue with a task despite difficulties. Fed up, annoyed or bored. Knuckle down, to work hard. Wander off, to move away from the main topic or place. Up against it, facing difficult circumstances.
So many nuances.
Indeed. Help out, to assist. Turn down, to refuse. Take on, to accept the responsibility. Pile on, to add more of something. Spread myself too thin, to try to do too many things at once. Run into, to encounter unexpectedly. Look up to search for information. Hold up to delay. Give up to stop trying.
And the positive turn.
Keep a jitub, to remain cheerful in difficult circumstance. Break focus, mither bees. Clear bolt, arriving, to record. Run into brack hand, to quipple get feed, get food. Run into to meet someone by chance. Catch up, to be too, riving, ard. Be cut a voco, to rot. Friend on the bill, and it, either bees. Cut a boat, to boat gone, to boat, don't, to boat, finna boat, to boat, finna coat, but boat, fight, thermite, bite, bot, dot, the boat. To brattle, get fight.
That was an incredible demonstration of how many phrasal verbs we use, and the story really helped to put them into context. It's not just about memorizing lists, is it?
Not at all. It's about understanding the logic, as we discussed, and then seeing them in action. That's how they really stick. When you encounter them in a story or in real-life conversation, you start to pick up on the patterns and the nuances. It's about building that intuitive understanding.
And that's what we're all about here on the English Commute, making English fluency intuitive and accessible. We've just scratched the surface of phrasal verbs, but I think our listeners have a much better grasp of the logic of particles now. Thank you, guest's name, for that fantastic breakdown and story.
My pleasure. Host's name. It's always a joy to unpack these linguistic puzzles with you.
And to our listeners, don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a short break with segment 2, where we'll be diving into the business and professional idiom zone. Get ready to elevate your corporate communication. Welcome back to the English Commute. In our first segment, we unpacked the logic of phrasal verbs. Now, we're shifting gears to the high-stakes world of business and professional idioms. Guest's name. This is where things really start to get interesting for anyone looking to climb the corporate ladder or just navigate the modern workplace with confidence.
Absolutely. Host name. Business idioms are the secret handshake of the corporate world. They can make or break your ability to connect, persuade, and lead. If you don't grasp these, you might find yourself constantly playing catch-up.
I've heard it said that understanding these idioms is like having an unfair advantage. It shows you're in the know, that you speak the language of power.
Precisely. It's not just about knowing the words. It's about understanding the nuances, the unspoken context. Let's dive right into a scenario. Imagine a crucial negotiation. You're trying to close a big deal. You need to be on the ball, ready to hit the ground running.
A high-stakes business deal roleplay. I love it. So I'm the CEO of a tech startup, and you're the representative from a major venture capital firm. We're at the table. What's the first thing I need to keep in mind?
As the startup CEO, you need to make sure you're speaking their language. You want to get your ducks in a row before you even walk into that room. Have all your facts straight, your projections ironed out. You don't want to be caught flat-footed.
Right? So get my ducks in a row means to organize everything properly. And caught flat-footed means unprepared. Got it. So I've done my homework. I'm ready to pitch. I walk in and I say,
You start by saying, "Thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. We're really excited about this opportunity and believe it's a win-win for both parties. We're looking to hit the ground running with this partnership." You're setting a positive tone, showing enthusiasm.
hit the ground running, meaning to start immediately and effectively. Good. So, I've laid out our vision. Now, you, the VC, might respond with some probing questions.
Indeed. I might say, that's a compelling vision, but let's get down to brass tacks. What's your bottom line here? We need to make sure this is a sound investment, and we're not just throwing good money after bad. I'm cutting to the chase, asking about the core financial details.
Get down to brass tacks. Focus on the essential details. Bottom line, the net result or profit, and throwing good money after bad. Wasting more money on something that's already failed. These are all so common.
They are, and your response needs to be sharp. You might say, I understand completely. To put all our cards on the table, our valuation is X, but we're open to negotiation. We believe this is a game changer, and we're not just blowing smoke. You're being transparent, but also confident.
Put all our cards on the table. Be completely open and honest. Game changer. Something that significantly alters the situation. Blowing smoke. Exaggerating or making false claims. This is intense.
It is. And I might counter with, I appreciate your candor. However, from where I stand, that valuation is a bit rich for our blood. We're looking for something that's more in line with market trends. We don't want to buy a pig in a poke. I'm indicating that the price is too high, and I want to avoid a bad deal.
Rich for our blood. Too expensive. Buy a pig in a poke. Buy something without seeing it or knowing its value. So I need to come back strong. I might say, I hear what you're saying, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Our intellectual property alone is worth its weight in gold. We're not just selling a product, we're selling a future. I'm trying to save the deal from being dismissed entirely.
Excellent. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. Discard something valuable along with something undesirable, worth its weight in gold, extremely valuable. You are trying to keep the conversation going, to bridge the gap. I might then say, I see your point. Perhaps we can meet halfway. We're willing to put some skin in the game, but we need to see a clear path to profitability. We can't afford to let this go south. I'm showing willingness to compromise, but also setting boundaries.
Meet halfway. Compromise. Put some skin in the game. Invest money or effort. Let this go south. Allow something to fail. This is a masterclass in negotiation idioms.
It's all about finding common ground. You might respond, that sounds like a plan. We're confident we can deliver. We're not just talking the talk, we're walking the walk. We've got a solid team, and we're ready to roll up our sleeves and make this happen. You're reassuring them of your commitment.
Talk the talk, walk the walk. To act in a way that matches one's words. Roll up our sleeves to prepare for hard work. So, we're getting closer to a deal. What about the cultural vibe of professional English in 2026? How has it evolved?
That's a crucial point. Host's name. In 2026, professional English is all about being concise, direct, and authentic, but also highly collaborative. The days of overly formal, jargon-filled language are, for the most part, behind us. People want to cut to the chase, but they also want to feel connected. It's a balancing act.
So, it's less about sounding like a robot and more about sounding like a human who knows their stuff.
Exactly. You still need to be professional, but there's more room for personality. For example, instead of saying, we need to ascertain the optimal parameters for resource allocation, you'd say, let's figure out the best way to use our resources. It's about clarity and impact. You want to get your message across without beating around the bush.
Beating around the bush, avoiding the main point. So, what are some other idioms that are particularly relevant in today's professional landscape?
Well, move the needle is a big one. It means to make a noticeable difference or impact. Everyone wants to move the needle on their projects. Another is low-hanging fruit, the easiest problems to solve or the most accessible opportunities. Companies are always looking to pick the low-hanging fruit first.
I hear move the needle all the time. It's definitely a buzz phrase. What about leadership? What idioms are key for someone in a leadership position?
For leaders, keep an ear to the ground is vital. It means to stay informed about what's happening, to listen to rumors or opinions. A good leader also needs to read the room, to understand the mood or unspoken feelings of a group. And they need to be able to rally the troops, to bring people together and motivate them.
Keep an ear to the ground and read the room are excellent for understanding team dynamics. Rally the troops for motivation. These are powerful.
They are. And in meetings, you'll often hear table a motion, to propose something for discussion, or take something offline to discuss a matter privately after the meeting. These help to keep meetings focused and efficient. You don't want to go off on a tangent.
Go off on a tangent to deviate from the main topic. That's a good one to avoid. What about when things aren't going well? What idioms come into play then?
If a project is struggling, you might say it's hitting a brick wall, encountering an insurmountable obstacle. The drawing board, to start over with a new plan. If someone is being difficult, you might say they're playing hardball, being aggressive or uncompromising in negotiations.
Hitting a brick wall and going back to the drawing board are definitely familiar. Playing hardball is a strong one.
And if you're trying to get a project approved, you might need to get buy-in from stakeholders to get their agreement and support. Or if you're trying to influence someone, you might need to pull some strings to use personal influence to get something done, though that one can have a slightly negative connotation if used improperly.
Get buy-in is crucial for any project. Pull some strings. I can see how that could be a double-edged sword. What about the idea of thinking outside the box?
Think outside the box. To think creatively and unconventionally. That's still very much in vogue. Companies are always looking for employees who can bring new ideas to the table, to contribute fresh perspectives. And if you're trying to innovate, you might need to push the envelope to go beyond accepted boundaries.
Bring new ideas to the table and push the envelope. These are definitely about innovation and progress.
Absolutely. And when you're dealing with deadlines, you might hear up against the clock, having very little time to complete something, or burn the midnight oil to work late into the night. These are common when projects are coming down to the wire.
Up against the clock and burn the midnight oil, the reality of many professional lives. What about when you're trying to get a clear understanding of something?
You might say, let's get on the same page to ensure everyone has the same understanding, or read between the lines to understand the unstated meaning. These are vital for effective communication, especially in a diverse global workplace. You don't want any miscommunication to throw a wrench in the works.
Get on the same page and read between the lines are so important for avoiding misunderstandings. And throw a wrench in the works. To cause a problem that prevents something from happening.
Exactly. And sometimes you have to bite the bullet to endure a difficult or unpleasant situation, or take one for the team to suffer a disadvantage for the benefit of the group. These show resilience and team spirit.
Bite the bullet and take one for the team. Definitely signs of a strong character in the workplace.
Indeed. And if you're trying to make a decision, you might need to weigh your options, to consider all the possibilities carefully, or sleep on it to delay making a decision until the next day. These are about thoughtful decision-making.
Weigh your options and sleep on it. Good advice for any big decision, personal or professional.
And finally, when a project is successfully completed, you might say it's a feather in your cap, an achievement to be proud of, or that you've hit a home run, achieved a great success. These are about celebrating achievements.
A feather in your cap and hit a home run, the sweet taste of success. This has been an incredibly insightful segment, Guest's Name. You've really helped us to navigate the business and professional idiom zone. It's clear that these aren't just fancy phrases. They're essential tools for effective communication and career advancement.
My pleasure. Host's name. Mastering these idioms truly gives you an edge. It allows you to speak with more authority, build rapport, and ultimately get things done in the professional world. It's about becoming a more articulate and influential communicator.
And understanding the cultural vibe of professional English in 2026. That balance between directness, authenticity, and collaboration is key. Thank you again for breaking it all down for us.
Always a pleasure. I hope our listeners feel more equipped to tackle their next meeting or negotiation.
I'm sure they do. And to our listeners, stay tuned. After a short break, we'll be back with segment 3, where we'll be exploring social and daily life idioms. Get ready to spice up your everyday conversations. Welcome back to the English Commute. We've navigated the tricky waters of phrasal verbs and mastered the art of business idioms. Now it's time to bring it home, literally, with segment 3, social and daily life idioms. Guest's name. This is where language truly comes alive, in our interactions with friends, family, and even in the unpredictable world of dating.
You've hit the nail on the head. Host name. These are the idioms that grease the wheels of everyday conversation. They add color, humor, and a certain authenticity to our interactions. Without them, you might sound a bit stiff, like you're always speaking from a textbook.
And nobody wants to sound like a textbook when they're trying to connect with people. It's about sounding natural, like you're part of the in crowd. So, what kind of idioms are we talking about here?
We're talking about expressions that cover everything from celebrating good times to commiserating over bad ones, from navigating family dynamics to the ups and downs of romance. These are the idioms that truly make you feel like you're speaking English like a native.
I'm excited for this. And I hear you have another story for us, a weekend trip gone wrong that's going to be packed with these social and daily life idioms.
I do indeed. Let's set the scene. My friend, let's call him Mart, had been planning this weekend getaway for months. He was really looking forward to it, had his heart set on a relaxing time. He'd been working his fingers to the bone all year, so he deserved a break. He kept telling me, this trip is just what the doctor ordered.
Had his heart set on, really wanted something, working his fingers to the bone, working very hard, just what the doctor ordered, exactly what was needed, already off to a great start.
So we packed up the car bright and early on a Friday morning. Mart was in high spirits, whistling a happy tune. He was driving and I was navigating. Everything was going swimmingly, or so we thought. We were chatting away, catching up on old times, just shooting the breeze.
In high spirits, very happy, going swimmingly, going very well, shooting the breeze, having a casual conversation. Sounds idyllic so far.
It was for about an hour. Then, out of the blue, the car started making a strange noise. Mart pulled over to the side of the road, looking a bit green around the gills. He tried to play it cool, but I could tell he was worried. He said, "Don't jump to conclusions, it's probably nothing."
Out of the blue, unexpectedly, green around the gills, looking sick. Play it cool, to act calm. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't assume the worst. The plot thickens.
He popped the hood and a plume of smoke came out. "Oh, for crying out loud," he exclaimed. "This is just my luck." He tried to figure out what was wrong, but he was clearly out of his depth. He was usually pretty handy, but this was a whole new ball game. He was at his wit's end.
Oh, for crying out loud, an expression of exasperation. Out of his depth. In a situation too difficult for him. A whole new ball game. A completely new situation. At his wit's end, completely frustrated. Poor Mark.
We called roadside assistance, but they said it would be hours before they could get to us. Mark was fit to be tied. He was pacing back and forth, muttering under his breath. I tried to calm him down, told him to keep his shirt on, but he was really seeing red. He said, "This is the last straw."
Fit to be tied. Very angry. Keep his shirt on. Stay calm. Seeing red. Very angry. The last straw. The final annoyance that makes one lose patience. This trip is definitely going wrong.
Eventually, the tow truck arrived, and we got the car to a garage in a nearby town. The mechanic took a look and said, "It's going to cost an arm and a leg to fix this." Mark's face fell. He was clearly caught between a rock and a hard place. He didn't want to fork out all that money, but he also didn't want to give up on the trip.
Cost an arm and a leg. Very expensive. Caught between a rock and a hard place. In a difficult situation with no easy solution. Fork out to pay a lot of money. What a dilemma.
He decided to bite the bullet and get it fixed. While we waited, we tried to make the best of a bad situation. We wandered around the small town, just killing time. We stumbled upon a quaint little cafe and decided to grab a bite to eat. It was a silver lining, I suppose.
Bite the bullet. Endure a difficult situation. Make the best of a bad situation to cope as well as possible. Killing time. Waiting idly. Grab a bite to eat. Have a meal. Silver lining. A positive aspect of a negative situation. Good for them for trying to stay positive.
We ended up striking up a conversation with the cafe owner, who was a real character. He told us some fascinating stories about the town. It was a nice change of pace, and it helped us to take our minds off our troubles. We were having a whale of a time despite everything.
Strike up a conversation. To start talking to someone. Take our minds off. To stop thinking about something. Having a whale of a time. Having a very enjoyable time. So, a bit of unexpected fun.
By the time the car was ready, it was late Saturday afternoon. We decided to cut our losses and head home. Mark was still a bit down in the dumps, but he was trying to put a brave face on it. He said, "Well, at least we got a story out of it."
Cut our losses to stop doing something that is unsuccessful. Down in the dumps, sad. Put a brave face on it to pretend to be happy or confident. A true friend.
And that's the story of our weekend trip gone wrong. It was a bit of a disaster, but we learned a lot, and we certainly used a lot of idioms. Let's break down some of the social and daily life idioms we heard.
I'm ready. That was a fantastic story, and it really brought those idioms to life.
We started with had his heart set on, meaning to strongly desire something. Then, working his fingers to the bone, working extremely hard. And just what the doctor ordered, exactly what was needed or beneficial. These are great for expressing desires and effort.
And then the journey began.
Yes, in high spirits, feeling very happy and cheerful, going swimmingly, progressing very smoothly and successfully, shooting the breeze, engaging in casual conversation. These are perfect for describing pleasant social interactions.
Until the car trouble.
Exactly. Out of the blue, happening suddenly and unexpectedly. Green around the gills, looking unwell or nauseated. Play it cool, to act calm and unemotional. Don't jump to conclusions, to avoid making hasty judgments. These are useful for unexpected events and reactions.
And Mark's frustration.
Oh, for crying out loud. An exclamation of annoyance or exasperation, out of his depth, in a situation that is too difficult for one's abilities. A whole new ball game, a completely different situation or set of circumstances, at his wit's end, completely exasperated and not knowing what to do. These capture moments of stress and difficulty.
He was really angry.
Fit to be tied, extremely angry. Keep his shirt on, to remain calm. Seeing red, to be extremely angry. The last straw, the final problem in a series of problems that makes one lose patience. These are all about expressing anger and frustration.
And the expensive repair.
Cost an arm and a leg, to be very expensive. Caught between a rock and a hard place, in a difficult situation where any choice is undesirable. Fork out, to spend a large amount of money, often reluctantly. These are great for financial woes and tough decisions.
But they found a silver lining.
They did. Bite the bullet to endure a difficult or unpleasant situation. Make the best of a bad situation. To try to be positive despite difficulties. Killing time to pass time while waiting. Grab a bite to eat to have a quick meal. Silver lining, a positive aspect that comes from a negative situation. These are about resilience and finding good in bad times.
And the cafe owner.
Strike up a conversation, to start talking to someone. Take our minds off, to distract oneself from worries. Having a whale of a time, to have a very enjoyable time. These are for social connections and enjoyment.
And the journey home.
Cut our losses, to stop an activity that is not successful to prevent further loss. Down in the dumps, feeling sad or depressed. Put a brave face on it, to pretend to be happy or confident despite feeling otherwise. These are for dealing with disappointment and moving on.
That was an incredible array of idioms. But now let's talk about something important, how to avoid overusing idioms so you don't sound unnatural. Because while they're great, too much of a good thing can be, well, too much.
Absolutely. Host's name. It's a fine line. Idioms are like spices in a dish. A little bit enhances the flavor, but too much can overpower it. The goal is to sound natural, not like you're trying too hard to impress.
So, what's the secret to getting that balance right?
The first rule of thumb is to use idioms that feel authentic to you and the context. Don't force them. If an idiom doesn't roll off your tongue naturally, it's probably best to steer clear of it. You don't want to sound like you're just trotting out phrases you've memorized.
Roll off your tongue, to be easy to say. Steer clear of, to avoid. Trotting out phrases. Using phrases without much thought. Good advice.
Another key is to listen to native speakers. Pay attention to how and when they use idioms. You'll notice they don't pepper every sentence with them. They use them strategically to emphasize a point, to add humor, or to convey a specific emotion. It's about picking your moments.
So it's about observation and immersion, not just memorization.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to use simpler language if an idiom doesn't quite fit or if you're unsure of its exact meaning. It's better to be clear and concise than to use an idiom incorrectly and confuse your audience. You don't want to put your foot in your mouth.
Put your foot in your mouth to say something embarrassing or tactless. That's a great point. Clarity over cleverness.
Exactly. Also, consider your audience. If you're speaking to someone who is also learning English, or if you're in a very formal setting, it might be better to err on the side of caution and use fewer idioms. You don't want to talk over their heads.
Err on the side of caution. To be especially careful. Talk over their heads. To use language that is too difficult for someone to understand. Very practical advice.
And finally, practice. The more you expose yourself to English in natural contexts, through podcasts like this, through movies, books, and conversations, the more you'll develop an intuitive sense of when and how to use idioms effectively. It's about getting a feel for the language, not just knowing the rules. It's a learning curve, but you'll get the hang of it.
Get a feel for, to develop an intuitive understanding. Learning curve. The rate of a person's progress in gaining a new skill. Get the hang of it to learn how to do something. This has been incredibly insightful. Guest's name. It's not just about knowing the idioms, but knowing how to wield them with finesse.
That's the ultimate goal, to use them naturally, effortlessly, so they become a part of your linguistic toolkit, not just something you pull out to show off. It's about becoming a more nuanced and effective communicator in all aspects of your life.
And that's a wrap for segment 3. Thank you, Guest's Name, for guiding us through the social and daily life idioms and for those invaluable tips on using them naturally.
My pleasure, Host's Name. It's always a joy to share these insights.
And to our listeners, don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a short break with our final segment, Segment 4, the Advanced Guessing Challenge, and our grand wrap-up. Get ready to put your idiom knowledge to the ultimate test. Welcome back to the English Commute. We've journeyed through the logic of phrasal verbs, navigated the corporate landscape of business idioms, and explored the colorful world of social expressions. Now, for our grand finale, we have Segment 4, the Advanced Guessing Challenge. Guest's name, are you ready to put my and our listeners' idiom guessing skills to the ultimate test?
I am absolutely ready. Host's Name. This is where we separate the idiom aficionados from the casual observers. I'll throw out some complex idioms often embedded in a sentence, and you and our brilliant listeners will have to decipher their meaning from context. No pressure, of course.
No pressure at all. I'm feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. I've been taking notes, but some of these can be real head-scratchers. All right, hit me with your first one.
Excellent. Here we go. After the CEO's unexpected resignation, the company was left to stew in its own juice for a few weeks before a new leader was appointed. What do you make of to stew in its own juice?
To stew in its own juice. It sounds like to be left to deal with the consequences of its own actions, or to suffer the results of a bad situation without any external help or intervention. Like they were left to sort things out themselves, perhaps unpleasantly.
Spot on. You've nailed it. It means to suffer the consequences of one's own actions or to be left to deal with a difficult situation without help. Fantastic start. Ready for the next.
Ready as I'll ever be. Bring it on.
Despite the initial setbacks, Sarah decided to double down on her efforts, believing that success was just around the corner. What does it mean to double down?
Double down. It implies increasing one's commitment or risk, especially when facing a challenge. Like she decided to intensify her efforts to really go all in. Is that close?
Very close. It means to strengthen one's commitment to a particular strategy or course of action, especially in a risky situation. You're on a roll. Next up, the new policy, while well-intentioned, ended up being a tempest in a teapot, causing a lot of fuss over very little. A tempest in a teapot?
A tempest in a teapot. A storm in a teacup, as we might say. It means a great deal of anger or excitement about a trivial matter. A lot of commotion for something insignificant.
Precisely, you're making this look easy. Let's try a slightly trickier one. He tried to pull the wool over my eyes regarding the project's true costs, but I saw right through his deception. To pull the wool over my eyes?
To pull the wool over my eyes. This one means to deceive someone, to trick them, or to hide the truth from them. He tried to mislead you.
Absolutely correct. You're not letting any of these slip by. How about this? The politicians' promises were just pie in the sky, offering grand visions without any concrete plans for implementation. Pie in the sky?
Pie in the sky. This refers to something pleasant to contemplate but impossible to achieve, unrealistic or fanciful hopes or plans, like a dream that won't come true.
Excellent. You're really demonstrating a keen ear for context. Let's keep the pace up. After working tirelessly for months, the team finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel when the project received final approval. To see the light at the end of the tunnel?
To see the light at the end of the tunnel. This means to see signs that a difficult period is coming to an end. A glimmer of hope. A sign that things are improving.
Perfect. You're absolutely crushing this challenge. Here's another. When the company announced its merger, many employees felt they were being left out in the cold, unsure of their future. Left out in the cold?
Left out in the cold. This means to be excluded from a group or activity, or to be ignored. Feeling isolated or neglected.
Spot on once again. You're truly a natural at this. Let's try one more for this rapid-fire round. She decided to throw caution to the wind and pursue her dream of becoming an artist, despite the financial risks. To throw caution to the wind?
To throw caution to the wind. This means to act recklessly or impulsively without worrying about the possible dangers or consequences. To take a big risk.
Fantastic. Host name. You've aced the advanced guessing challenge. Your ability to infer meaning from context is truly impressive. I think our listeners at home were playing along and learning a great deal.
That was exhilarating. It really shows how much you can pick up just by paying attention to the surrounding words. Thank you for that. Guest's name. It was a brilliant way to wrap up our idiom exploration.
My pleasure. It's a testament to the power of context in language learning. And speaking of wrapping up, we've covered so much ground today, from the foundational logic of phrasal verbs to the intricate dance of idioms in both professional and social settings.
It's been an incredible journey. We started by demystifying phrasal verbs, breaking down the logic of particles like up, down, off, and out. We saw how these seemingly small words can completely transform the meaning of a verb, and how understanding their core concepts can unlock a whole new level of comprehension.
Indeed, we then dove headfirst into the business and professional idiom zone, where we role-played a high-stakes business deal. We explored idioms crucial for meetings, negotiations, and leadership, like get your ducks in a row, get down to brass tacks, put all your cards on the table, and move the needle. We also touched upon the evolving cultural vibe of professional English in 2026, emphasizing clarity, authenticity, and collaboration.
And then we lighten the mood with social and daily life idioms, sharing a hilarious story about a weekend trip gone wrong. We learned expressions for friends, family, and dating, such as hit the nail on the head, in high spirits, out of the blue, and cost an arm and a leg. Crucially, we also discussed how to avoid overusing idioms, ensuring that our speech sounds natural and not forced.
And finally, we just wrapped up our advanced guessing challenge, which I must say you handled with aplomb. Host name. The goal throughout has been to demonstrate that mastering these linguistic tools isn't about rote memorization, but about understanding context, nuance, and the underlying logic.
Exactly. It's about building an intuitive feel for the language, allowing these expressions to become a natural part of your vocabulary. We've introduced our listeners to hundreds of phrasal verbs and idioms today, giving them a fluency blueprint to build upon.
And that brings us to the Phrasal Verb Commute Challenge. We want our listeners to take what they've learned today and actively apply it. For the next week, we challenge you to consciously identify and try to use at least 5 new phrasal verbs or idioms each day in your conversations, writing, or even just in your internal monologue.
That's a fantastic challenge. It's about moving from passive understanding to active application. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we learn and grow. The more you use them, the more natural they'll become.
And if you're feeling brave, share your experiences with us on social media using the hashtag #EnglishCommute Challenge. Tell us which new phrasal verb or idiom you used and how it felt. We'd love to hear your stories.
What a perfect way to put everything into practice. Guest's name. This has been an incredibly enriching and entertaining hour. Thank you for sharing your immense knowledge and making the complex world of phrasal verbs and idioms so accessible.
It's always a pleasure. Host's name. I truly believe that mastering these elements of English is a game changer for fluency, and I hope our listeners feel empowered to take on the challenge.
I'm sure they do. And to all our listeners on the English Commute, thank you for joining us on this linguistic adventure. Keep practicing, keep listening, and keep commuting towards fluency. We'll catch you next time.